Have you ever woken up one morning, the sun streaming through your window, only to be slammed by a cold, hard realization? The child you poured your heart and soul into, the one you stayed up countless nights with, the one you willingly went without for, now barely gives you the time of day. It can feel like a punch to the gut, a sudden, sickening jolt. 1 minute, you were their rock, their go-to person for every little thing, the one with all the answers. The next, it's as if your hard-earned wisdom and life experiences are just discarded, tossed aside like yesterday's newspaper. If you've spent decades tirelessly supporting your children, emptying your bank account for their education, driving them hundreds of miles to soccer practices, band recitals, you name it, and patiently guiding them through the roller coaster of life, this shift can be absolutely devastating. It's shocking, yes, but even more so, it's deeply, profoundly painful. Suddenly, the roles you've both played for so long start to flip, leaving you standing there, bewildered, wondering where on earth you went wrong. Maybe they casually brush off your heartfelt advice with a dismissive wave of their hand. Perhaps they roll their eyes so dramatically when you share a cherished memory that you feel a sharp sting of rejection. Or even worse, maybe they talk to you in a condescending tone, like you're a child yourself. The absolute worst? When they treat you like an inconvenience, a burden to be tolerated, rather than the person whose wisdom and love should be treasured above all else. But here's a tough pill to swallow: getting angry or throwing a fit won't magically fix this. In fact, it almost always backfires spectacularly. Anger can dig deep trenches, creating rifts that widen with each passing day. Heated arguments can escalate tensions to the point where neither of you wants to pick up the phone, let alone stop by for a visit. That's precisely why it's so crucial to tackle this incredibly sensitive issue with a calm yet firm approach. You need a thoughtful strategy that allows you to hold on to your dignity and self-respect without completely severing ties with your children or saying things in the heat of the moment that you'll undoubtedly regret later. Think about it, all those years of unwavering dedication and unconditional love shouldn't culminate in bitterness and heartache. You deserve to be recognized, truly seen and appreciated, for everything you've done. Whether it was those tear-filled late nights comforting them after a nightmare, the thousands upon thousands of dollars you poured into their dreams, or the sheer emotional energy you poured into ensuring their happiness and well-being. If you're starting to notice those telltale signs that your children no longer value your voice, it's time for a serious reset. They may have their own busy lives now, maybe even families of their own, and in the daily whirlwind of responsibilities, they could be unintentionally pushing you to the very bottom of their priority list. This doesn't, and I repeat, doesn't mean you have to silently accept neglect or disrespect. In fact, there are far more effective ways to earn back their respect than resorting to scolding, nagging, or laying on thick layers of guilt. These more effective methods are rooted in self-reflection, assertive communication, and, most importantly, fiercely protecting your own emotional well-being. When you establish healthy boundaries, firmly reaffirm your own worth, and present yourself as a vibrant, engaged person with a rich and meaningful life, your children will slowly begin to see the parent they once looked up to. They'll remember, deep down, why your guidance and wisdom truly matter. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 powerful strategies you can start using right now to regain that lost sense of respect and value in your children's eyes. Each step is carefully designed to help you cultivate a more balanced and loving connection, one where your voice is not only heard but truly valued, your needs are recognized, and your countless contributions are finally appreciated. Now, some of these ideas might feel a little unconventional, maybe even a bit counterintuitive at first, but I urge you to stick with me until the very end. By thoughtfully applying these strategies, you'll rediscover your rightful place as a cherished source of wisdom and unwavering support, rather than feeling like a burdensome afterthought. So, if you're ready to reclaim your vital role in your family and strengthen those precious bonds in a positive and healthy way, please stay tuned. Because everything you've been desperately hoping for could be just a few small, yet powerful, mindset shifts away. Picture this: for what feels like an eternity, you've placed your children's needs above your own. You've cheerfully rescheduled crucial doctor's appointments, navigated rush hour traffic to drive across town for last-minute favors, and said yes to every single request, even when your own energy reserves were completely depleted. For a while, it might have seemed like this was the only way to keep the family ship afloat, the glue that held everyone together. But in reality, true respect isn't born out of endless self-sacrifice. Respect flourishes when you boldly demonstrate that your time, your feelings, and your overall well-being are just as important, just as valid, as everyone else's in the family. I vividly recall meeting a truly remarkable woman named Eleanor. In her younger years, she was the absolute backbone of her family and her entire community. A spirited volunteer at her local church, a tireless organizer of countless charity events, and a confident professional who never hesitated to voice her well-reasoned opinions. But as she gracefully entered her mid-60s, a subtle, almost imperceptible shift began to occur. She gradually started allowing her adult children to make every single decision for her. It began innocently enough, with small things like letting them always pick the restaurant or dictate her daily schedule. But it slowly escalated until they were completely dismissing her input, her thoughts, her very feelings. The day Eleanor realized she no longer recognized the strong, independent woman she had always been, a wave of bewilderment and deep hurt washed over her. Her children's behavior hadn't changed overnight. It was a slow erosion that took years of her consistently putting their wants and needs far above her own. Years of staying silent when they casually brushed off her opinions as outdated or irrelevant, years of silently enduring the sharp sting of their condescending comments. She had mistakenly believed that by simply going along with everything and diligently avoiding any hint of conflict, she was somehow keeping the peace. But in truth, she was slowly, tragically losing her own voice. The harsh lesson Eleanor learned, and one that resonates deeply, is that the more we compromise our own fundamental needs in a desperate attempt to earn love and approval, the less that love feels freely given, and the less genuinely respectful it truly is. The very first crucial step to reversing this damaging dynamic isn't to lash out in anger or launch into a tearful recounting of all the sacrifices you've made. No, the first step is to resolutely stop acting like you desperately need their approval in the first place. Speak up confidently, even when you're worried they might not agree with what you have to say. Establish clear boundaries, even if it feels incredibly uncomfortable at first. Fiercely respect your own valuable time and personal space. Because once your children truly see that you value yourself, your own worth, they are far, far more likely to value you as well. Over time, this renewed sense of self-respect can help you confidently reclaim your rightful place as a vital and respected figure in their lives. After all, children might eventually outgrow the need for constant parental guidance in certain areas, but no one, absolutely no one, ever outgrows respect for a parent who has never, ever forgotten their own inherent worth. Have you ever tried to force someone to respect you? Pushed and pleaded, only to watch that respect slip further and further away, like sand through your fingers? True respect doesn't stem from heated debates or pointed, finger-wagging lectures. It's earned, quietly and consistently, by the way you carry yourself, especially when tensions inevitably arise. Take the poignant story of Walter, a retired high school history teacher who once commanded a classroom full of spirited teenagers with remarkable ease and authority. Yet, within the walls of his own home, his grown children treated him like a mere afterthought, casually shrugging off his well-intentioned advice and even openly laughing at his genuine concerns. Deeply hurt and utterly confused by this stark contrast, Walter initially did exactly what many of us would instinctively do: he argued. He meticulously pointed out every single sacrifice he had willingly made for them over the years. He emotionally reminded them of his lifelong dedication and then flat out demanded that they listen to him, that they finally show him some respect. But the more he raised his voice, the more his children emotionally distanced themselves, retreating further into their own worlds. Then, everything shifted dramatically when Walter made a conscious decision to completely change his approach. Instead of desperately trying to prove his worth through a barrage of words, he intentionally adopted the same calm and confident presence he had effortlessly brought to his classroom for so many years. He listened, truly listened, with genuine interest when his children spoke, offering his own thoughts and opinions calmly and thoughtfully when he had something truly meaningful to add. And perhaps most powerfully, he allowed silence to settle disagreements instead of immediately escalating them into shouting matches. Over time, his children, almost imperceptibly at first, started to notice this profound change in their father. Without a single raised voice or another heated argument, they slowly began to recognize the quiet strength and inherent dignity that had made him such a respected and beloved teacher for so many years. Walter's newfound calm dignity accomplished what countless tearful arguments and desperate pleas had never been able to. It reignited the respect he so rightfully deserved. I once knew a dear friend of Walter's, a lovely woman named Patricia, who astutely applied this very same principle within her own family. She discovered that the fewer battles she felt compelled to pick with her adult sons, the more they surprisingly started valuing her words and her opinions. True respect isn't about winning every single argument. It's about consistently showing, day in and day out, through your actions and your demeanor, that your own self-worth runs far deeper than any fleeting momentary conflict. When you truly embody that powerful principle, you don't just subtly shift the perspective. You fundamentally change the entire dynamic of your relationship for the better. One of the most challenging truths to fully accept in later life is that your children are ultimately not responsible for your emotional well-being. Yes, you love them with every fiber of your being, and of course, you deeply long for their love and unwavering respect in return. But the very instant they sense, even subconsciously, that you are relying on them to feel worthy, to feel content, the entire delicate balance of your relationship subtly yet significantly shifts. Suddenly, what was once a loving and supportive bond can begin to feel more like a heavy burden, breeding feelings of impatience and even resentment instead of genuine gratitude. It's not necessarily that your children have suddenly stopped caring about you. It's more that basic human nature tends to instinctively pull away from relationships that feel like they demand constant validation or relentless approval. However, when you actively reclaim your own emotional independence by enthusiastically seeking fulfillment in new and engaging hobbies, nurturing meaningful friendships, and prioritizing your own personal growth, you powerfully show your children that you have a rich and fulfilling life that extends far beyond simply waiting for their calls or their fleeting attention. And, counterintuitive as it might sound, that very freedom often draws them much closer to you. I once met a truly gracious woman named Beverly who perfectly illustrated this profound principle. She had devoted her every waking moment to ensuring her children's happiness, tirelessly paying for their college educations, readily babysitting her grandchildren at a moment's notice, and almost never, ever declining any request, no matter how inconvenient it might be for her. But as her children grew older and their own lives became increasingly busy, Beverly found herself often sitting by the phone, anxiously waiting for them to call. When those calls didn't come as frequently as she hoped, she would often dial their numbers instead, sometimes multiple times a week, subtly dropping hints about how much she missed them. But far from bringing them closer, her frequent pleas and subtle guilt trips began to feel like an obligation to her children. They started picking up her calls less willingly, and the conversations often felt strained and uneasy. Then, one day, Beverly decided she had simply had enough. She bravely enrolled in a weekly pottery class, something she had always dreamed of doing but had never quite found the time for. She also began enthusiastically meeting friends for coffee and even discovered some local volunteer programs that ignited a renewed sense of purpose within her. She consciously stopped forcing those frequent phone calls and obsessively lingering on social media just to see what her kids were doing. What seemed like a relatively small shift in her behavior resulted in a huge emotional breakthrough for everyone involved. No longer carrying the heavy weight of Beverly's every emotional need, her children found themselves actually wanting to call and visit her more often. They genuinely enjoyed hearing her excitedly talk about her newfound projects and passions. In stepping away from that subtle neediness, Beverly unexpectedly found the independence and the deep respect she had unknowingly been missing for so many years. The powerful lesson here is beautifully simple yet profoundly transformative. When you actively nurture your own interests and resolutely refuse to hinge your own self-worth on anyone else, even your own beloved children, You become a vibrant source of inspiration instead of an emotional weight. Your children will naturally respect your clearly defined boundaries, genuinely appreciate your personal growth, and view you through a lens of admiration and genuine interest rather than a sense of obligation or duty. It's not about creating distance between yourself and your family. It's about nurturing your own inner sense of joy and fulfillment so that you enter every interaction with your children as a complete and emotionally fulfilled individual. That seemingly small shift in perspective can mean the entire difference between feeling like a forgotten afterthought and being deeply cherished for the wise and resilient parent you truly are. It might feel incredibly daunting to consciously create even a slight distance between yourself and the very people you have devoted so much of your life to raising. Yet, time and time again, we see that the less you overtly rely on your children for your own sense of worth and happiness, the more they will, in turn, recognize your inherent value as a person. Eleanor, from our earlier story, discovered that her children weren't intentionally pulling away because they no longer cared. They were subconsciously distancing themselves from the subtle yet persistent expectation that she somehow needed them to be happy. Once she bravely shifted her focus to nurturing her own long-neglected interests, her children naturally began to respect her valuable time and made a genuine effort to stay connected with her. By demonstrating to them that she could stand firmly on her own 2 feet, she powerfully reminded them just how important her presence truly was in their lives. But self-reliance is only one side of this important coin. True and lasting respect also requires the establishment and consistent enforcement of clear and healthy boundaries. Many well-meaning parents mistakenly believe that simply tolerating disrespectful behavior will somehow keep the delicate family unit harmonious. But in reality, it only inadvertently teaches your children that they can continue to cross those invisible lines you've never clearly defined. Consider the insightful story of Raymond, a retired businessman who successfully ran a thriving company for decades with remarkable clarity and decisive leadership. When he purposefully applied those very same principles within his own home, firmly insisting on basic civility and calmly speaking up each and every time his adult children interrupted him or belittled his opinions, he witnessed immediate and positive changes. Did his children wholeheartedly embrace these new rules at first? Not necessarily. But when they quickly realized that he wasn't going to back down, that he was serious about expecting respectful treatment, they gradually adapted their behavior. To establish your own healthy boundaries, start by clearly identifying specific actions or words that consistently make you feel genuinely disrespected. Next, communicate these limits calmly and clearly, without resorting to scolding or manipulative guilt trips. Just straightforward, assertive statements like, "I expect that we listen to each other without constant interruptions," or, "If we can maintain a respectful tone and keep our voices down, then this conversation will unfortunately have to end." And here's the crucial part, you must consistently enforce these limits every single time they are crossed. Sporadic boundary setting only serves to confuse the situation and ultimately weakens your stance. You will likely be amazed at just how quickly others, including your adult children, learn to respect your newly established parameters when they see that you are serious about following through. By thoughtfully pairing emotional independence with firm yet compassionate boundaries, you create a balanced and healthy dynamic where your deep love for your children remains steadfast, and your own inherent self-respect remains absolutely unshakable. When Raymond finally decided he was completely done tiptoeing around his children's increasingly disrespectful behavior, he quickly learned that calmly holding his ground was far more powerful and effective than any heated argument he had ever engaged in. By consistently responding with firm, clear statements like, "I'll be happy to continue speaking when you're ready to listen respectfully," he sent a powerful signal that his voice, his thoughts, and his feelings truly mattered. His adult children initially balked at this new approach, some even protesting that he was being overly sensitive and unreasonable. But Raymond stood firm, gently reminding them that he wasn't trying to change their opinions or control their lives. He was simply requiring them to treat him with basic human civility. If they couldn't manage that, he calmly explained, he would simply remove himself from conversations and situations where disrespect had become the norm. Over time, his children gradually realized that they were the ones who needed to adapt if they truly wanted to maintain a meaningful relationship with their father. They might have tested him initially, perhaps cutting him off mid-sentence or rolling their eyes dramatically, but he never wavered. Instead of raising his voice or engaging in an emotional battle, Raymond would quietly and calmly end the discussion until they were ready to engage with him respectfully. Frustrated at first, they eventually recognized their father's unwavering seriousness and began to consistently show him the courtesy he so rightly deserved. And as that basic courtesy became a consistent pattern, their closeness as a family actually grew stronger. Where they had once viewed boundaries as controlling or old-fashioned, they slowly began to see them as a clear expression of Raymond's inherent self-worth. I've personally witnessed a very similar transformation in the story of Brenda, a retired nurse who absolutely adored her grandchildren but felt increasingly dismissed and disregarded by her adult daughter. Whenever Brenda tried to offer her professional insights or well-meaning advice on health and nutrition, her daughter would casually shrug it off with a dismissive wave of her hand and a sarcastic remark. Tired of feeling constantly belittled and ignored, Brenda calmly but firmly stated that she would no longer offer her professional insights and advice unless her daughter genuinely valued them and specifically asked for her input. At first, this unexpected boundary triggered some resistance and even a bit of resentment. Yet, within just a few short weeks, Brenda's daughter realized the true depth of her mother's valuable expertise and actually missed having that readily available knowledge. By quietly and consistently reinforcing her boundary, Brenda not only earned significantly more respect from her daughter but also unexpectedly rekindled a deeper and more meaningful bond with her entire family. The powerful lesson here is remarkably simple yet profoundly important. If you consistently accept disrespectful treatment, it unfortunately becomes the new baseline for how others will treat you. Standing up for yourself, whether it's by simply pausing a disrespectful conversation or choosing to gracefully opt out of an unpleasant situation altogether, forces those around you to either meet your clearly defined standards or risk losing your valuable company. This might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but genuine, lasting respect rarely grows without a little bit of initial discomfort. By being unwavering in your boundaries, you send a powerful and unambiguous message: I deeply value myself, and I trust that you will learn to do the same. Over time, children who truly care about you will adjust their behavior. You'll find yourself having calmer, more meaningful conversations instead of tense and draining standoffs. Remember, it's not about being harsh or completely cutting them off. It's about drawing a clear and loving line that firmly says, I love you deeply, but I also deeply love and respect myself. Ironically, this kind of quiet confidence has a remarkable way of drawing your loved ones even closer. Once they truly see you as someone who recognizes their own inherent worth, they will naturally begin to see you in that same positive and respectful light. And that, my friends, is absolutely key to restoring the respect you have worked so incredibly hard to earn. It's completely natural for a loving parent to want to give tirelessly financial aid, unwavering emotional support, even a comforting shoulder to cry on whenever needed. After all, many of us grew up believing that unconditional love inherently means unlimited generosity. But here's a crucial distinction: unconditional love and unconditional enabling are simply not the same thing. Constantly giving, especially to those who don't readily appreciate it, can unfortunately erode respect over time, subtly turning genuine gratitude into a sense of entitlement. When your children begin to view your kindness and generosity as a given, rather than a gracious act of love, it's no longer a cherished and reciprocal bond but rather a one-sided transaction they feel inherently entitled to. And the moment you finally need to draw a firm line or say no, they don't feel any remorse or understanding. Instead, they often feel inconvenienced or even resentful. Consider the poignant story of Gregory. He was the quintessential type of father who never, ever questioned a single favor asked of him. Loans for brand new cars? Absolutely. Last-minute babysitting requests that completely disrupted his carefully planned schedule? Of course. Changing his entire week to accommodate every single family get-together, no matter how inconvenient? Without hesitation, Gregory always said yes to it all. Yet, Instead of receiving grateful smiles and heartfelt thank yous, he was often met with complaints. His children always seemed to want more, and they wanted it faster, with absolutely no fuss. Finally, the day came when Gregory himself desperately needed their help, and he found himself utterly alone, feeling deeply frustrated and profoundly disappointed. That was the turning point. He made a hard but necessary decision to completely pivot his approach. From that day forward, he only offered help when he was specifically asked, and even then, he thoughtfully set clear conditions that respected his own valuable time and personal boundaries. At first, his children were understandably confused, and some even reacted with anger and resentment. But then, a truly fascinating shift occurred. Realizing that their dad's seemingly limitless well of help wasn't actually unlimited anymore, they slowly began to value it much more. Polite requests gradually replaced demanding expectations, and occasional, genuine heartfelt thanks replaced their usual dismissive remarks. Now, some might argue that true parental love should expect absolutely nothing in return, that it's a parent's inherent duty to give everything they possibly can. But duty and healthy, thriving family bonds can certainly coexist beautifully without turning you into a perpetual safety net. Unconditional love shouldn't ever mean that you erode your own well-being or that you inadvertently shield your grown children from learning crucial life lessons like gratitude and personal responsibility. By consciously refusing to enable unappreciative behavior, you're not actually withholding your love. You're wisely teaching them to respect both you and the significant benefits you willingly provide. You're also creating the necessary space for deeper, more authentic relationships to flourish, where genuine generosity is truly treasured instead of merely tolerated or expected. If you find yourself caught in a seemingly endless cycle of give and give some more, please take a quiet moment for honest self-reflection and ask yourself this crucial question: am I truly empowering my children to confidently stand on their own 2 feet, or am I unintentionally teaching them that my resources, my time, my money, my emotional energy are absolutely limitless? The answer to that profound question could very well be the key to restoring genuine respect and heartfelt admiration, not through conflict or confrontation, but through a healthy and necessary recalibration of what it truly means to genuinely care. And once you bravely break free from those ingrained patterns of overgiving, you'll finally have the emotional space and energy to tackle the next crucial step in this journey: actively building a rich and fulfilling life outside of your children's world, so that your own happiness no longer hinges solely on their fleeting approval or attention. It can be a wrenching and deeply disheartening moment when you finally realize that after years of selflessly centering your entire life around your children, they've unfortunately begun to see you as someone who simply exists for their convenience. It can feel as though they've tucked you away in the dusty periphery of their busy lives, completely forgetting that you, too, have your own vibrant dreams, your own compelling passions, and your own significant ambitions. Yet, here's a fundamental truth: people, including your children, naturally respect individuals who confidently show they can stand on their own 2 feet, those who cultivate engaging hobbies, nurture meaningful friendships, and lead a vibrant and fulfilling life that doesn't solely depend on anyone else's schedule or validation. By actively cultivating your own interests and passions, you not only powerfully demonstrate your independence but also ignite a healthy sense of curiosity and genuine admiration in your children. Think about Evelyn, a wonderful widow in her late 70s who had completely anchored her world to her adult children after her beloved husband passed away. She called them every single day, often offering unsolicited advice on everything from their careers to their grocery shopping, and she frequently waited anxiously by the phone, hoping for an invitation to visit that sadly never seemed to come. Her children, feeling increasingly overwhelmed and suffocated by her constant need for their attention and validation, began to visit less and less often. Suddenly, Evelyn found herself feeling profoundly alone, her heart heavy with a deep sense of loneliness and isolation. That was the pivotal moment when she bravely made the life-changing choice to enroll in a local book club, enthusiastically join a community travel group, and volunteer her time at a nearby community center. By courageously stepping beyond her well-worn comfort zone, she rediscovered a profound sense of purpose and joy that she had unknowingly lost many years ago. In an unexpected and truly heartwarming twist, the more Evelyn blossomed on her own, the more her children began calling and stopping by, genuinely eager to hear all about her new adventures and exciting achievements. Their initial sense of obligation slowly transformed into genuine curiosity and deep respect, an acknowledgement that she was living a full and meaningful life, rather than simply passively passing the time while waiting for them. If you find yourself caught in a similar dynamic, please ask yourself this bold and honest question: do my children currently see me as a vibrant and engaged person with boundless interests and passions, or do they perhaps picture me simply waiting around for their next visit or their next phone call? When you actively demonstrate that your own happiness and your very identity extend far beyond the immediate family circle, you powerfully invite your children to see you as a whole, multifaceted individual. You become someone they genuinely want to learn from and connect with, rather than someone they might feel obligated to appease or entertain. By consciously shifting your focus towards your own self-enrichment and personal growth, you'll discover that you're not just merely existing. You're truly, vibrantly living. And in that radiant space of self-discovery and personal fulfillment, respect will naturally begin to flow back into your relationships, transforming the parent-child bond into something far deeper, richer, and profoundly more rewarding for everyone involved. As we gently wrap up today's video, I want to leave you with a powerful thought to carry with you: true respect isn't something that can be forcefully demanded. It's something you inspire through your own actions and your own way of being in the world. It's completely understandable to feel frustrated, perhaps even deeply hurt, when the very people you have lovingly cared for and tirelessly nurtured for so long begin to treat you with less respect or consideration than you deserve. You might find yourself wondering why your children no longer seem to value your well-intentioned advice or even take your feelings into account. But here's a fundamental truth: you simply cannot force genuine respect from anyone, not even your own children. Instead, you actively earn it through the way you choose to live your life, the clear boundaries you confidently set, and the quiet dignity with which you carry yourself each and every day. If you currently find yourself feeling hurt, maybe even angry, that your children have seemingly started treating you as less of a priority in their busy lives, I strongly encourage you to intentionally shift your perspective. It's not about engaging in a tiring battle for their respect, desperately demanding it, or constantly reminding them of every single thing you've done for them over the years. That approach often only leads to more frustration, resentment, and ultimately, greater emotional distance. Instead, take a deep breath, step back, and thoughtfully ask yourself, what can I do differently, starting right now, to inspire the genuine respect that I so rightfully deserve? The answer, my friends, lies in the way you carry yourself in their presence, the healthy boundaries you consistently establish and maintain, and the rich and fulfilling life you actively cultivate outside of your cherished role as a parent. One of the very first crucial steps is to consciously stop chasing their elusive approval. You might have dedicated your entire life to selflessly putting their needs first, but here's a painful truth: the more you desperately seek their validation, the less respect they will ultimately have for you. When you consistently place their needs and desires far ahead of your own, you inadvertently teach them that your own feelings and well-being simply don't matter as much. And when that happens, it becomes incredibly easy for them to take you and your countless sacrifices for granted. The key is to bravely stop seeking external validation from them and instead, learn to fiercely validate yourself. Show them, through your actions and your demeanor, that your inherent worth as a human being does not depend on their fleeting approval. When you finally stop needing it, you might be genuinely surprised at just how much genuine respect naturally begins to follow. Another absolutely crucial step is to consistently lead by powerful example. If your children have unfortunately developed the habit of dismissing your well-reasoned opinions, constantly talking over you, or generally treating you with a lack of basic respect, your first instinct might be to jump into an argument, to emotionally remind them of everything you've selflessly done for them. But engaging in heated arguments often only reinforces their subconscious belief that they somehow have power over you and your emotional state. True respect is not won through a barrage of angry words. It's earned through your consistent presence, through the calm and dignified way you thoughtfully respond when others attempt to test your patience or cross your clearly established boundaries. If you meet disrespect with explosive anger, all you're inadvertently doing is confirming their misguided belief that they can effectively control you through their negative behavior. But when you consistently carry yourself with quiet confidence and unwavering dignity, your actions and your demeanor will speak volumes, far louder and more effectively than any heated argument ever could. Led by gently showing them, through your own consistent behavior, exactly what genuine self-respect truly looks like in action. When you consciously do this, you will gradually begin to notice a positive shift in how they treat you, slowly but surely beginning to value you as the unique and dignified individual you truly are. But there's something else incredibly important that you must also actively do: consciously build a rich and fulfilling life outside of your children and their immediate world. For many devoted parents, it's easy to gradually fall into the subtle trap of making your children the absolute center of your entire universe. But as you and your children both mature and grow older, the dynamic inevitably needs to shift in a healthy way. Your own happiness and sense of purpose should no longer solely revolve around their approval, their fleeting attention, or their busy schedules. People, including your own children, naturally respect those who have cultivated a strong sense of personal fulfillment outside of their immediate family roles. If your children consistently see you as someone who lives independently, enthusiastically pursues your own passions and interests, and actively creates a life that is full of joy, purpose, and meaningful connections, they will naturally start respecting your presence in their lives. Not because they feel they have to out of obligation, but because they genuinely admire the vibrant and engaged person you are. Think back to the poignant story of Beverly, the devoted mother who spent years pouring all of her considerable energy into her children's lives. When they inevitably got busy with their own careers and families, she often found herself sadly waiting by the phone, desperately hoping for a call that all too often never came. Eventually, she made a brave and empowering decision: she consciously stopped waiting for them to reach out. Instead, she enthusiastically joined a local book club, began traveling with newfound friends, and purposefully gave herself the precious space and time to truly flourish outside of her cherished role as a mother. And what happened next was truly remarkable. Her children, seeing her newfound independence and joy, began to reach out to her much more frequently. They genuinely respected her newfound independence, deeply admired her exciting new interests, and most importantly, they began to see her as a whole and complete individual who had a rich and fulfilling life beyond just being their mother. This significant change didn't just bring them closer as a family. It fundamentally changed the way they saw her, with a renewed sense of appreciation and profound respect. If your own children aren't currently respecting you in the way you deeply feel they should, please take a moment for honest self-reflection and ask yourself this crucial question: do they consistently see me as someone who leads a full and meaningful life, rich with my own interests and passions, or do they perhaps perceive me as someone who is simply waiting around for their next visit or their next phone call, someone whose happiness entirely depends on their fleeting approval? When you actively show them, through your own vibrant life and your confident demeanor, that you can absolutely stand on your own 2 feet and that you are genuinely content with your own unique purpose and passions, you will begin to see them treat you in a fundamentally different way. The more you consciously focus on living a fulfilling life that is not solely defined by their actions or their opinions, the more they will naturally recognize the incredible and multifaceted person you truly are. They will gradually stop seeing you as someone who desperately needs them for validation, and instead, they will see you as someone who commands respect simply by being authentically and unapologetically yourself. Thank you so much for being with us today. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and experiences on this important topic. What is one small but significant action you can commit to taking today to start commanding the respect you so richly deserve? Please feel free to leave a comment down below and share your own unique story. And if you found this video helpful and insightful, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss out on more valuable insights and empowering content in the future. Your incredible support truly means the world to us and helps us continue creating content that inspires and empowers you on your journey. Remember, you don't have to demand respect. When you live your life with purpose, dignity, and a strong sense of self-worth, it will naturally come back to you, not because you chased after it, but because you bravely earned it by simply being true to yourself. Valuable lesson: the most effective way to earn your adult children's respect is not through nagging, guilt trips, or endless self-sacrifice, but by cultivating your own emotional independence, establishing clear boundaries, and living a fulfilling life that showcases your inherent worth and dignity. Please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more empowering content.